Oscar nominations, predictions, 2023.
I'm gonna start with a very simple question.
Yeah, go on.
Are you happy with the nominations
Overall?
for this year's? Yeah.
No. Yes and no. On a scale from 1 to 10, I'm like...
They could have done better.
Yeah, it's like a 6.5.
6.5.
Yeah. Like, I'm happy
6.5.
for some things, but at what cost?
Because there is like a slight lack of representation.
I think so, especially because I felt like this year there were a lot of films that had the potential and were really good, but had the potential to be nominated, that were very diverse, not just in terms of on-screen representation and stories that they told, but also for the team behind it. And the fact that, once again, they focused not exclusively, thankfully, but mainly on the white men, especially in the creatives and big categories. It's quite disappointing when, even if I'm not a person that votes for the Oscar, and I know that this film exists, and it feels like they're forgetting them.
Right. So there is a strong white man narrative.
I think so.
And there are stories that inevitably have been told from a white man perspective.
Yeah.
Right.
I think to their credit, there is some positives, and like I think this is the first year ever that 2 Asian actresses are nominated together for the Best Actress category, which is great, and we're very happy to hear that. But at the same time, I think it's also fair to acknowledge that they did something good, but also that there's a lot more to be done.
Is it fair to say that although there has been progress, it's sad and disappointing that we have to feel grateful for that small of a progress? It's never to an extent where you can really consider it an accomplishment.
Exactly.
It's always 2 female in that category.
Yeah.
2 female artists or 2 female producers or 2 female actors are nominated in that category.
Yeah.
And it's never quite an accomplishment because it is such small portions and they never get it's never satisfying for some
I agree,
reason.
and I think in the same sense, even when like these are big achievements, it also reminds of how sad it is in a way that, when was it? I think 2 years ago, in 2021, the first like woman of color ever won as a best director. Like, it's amazing, and Chloe Zhao is amazing, and I'm very happy for her. But at the same time, how sad it is that we have to say this in 2021 is that, to me specifically, what sticks out is that the movies that were made by women that were very high quality and could have been nominated, well, Women Talking was, but some of them I think has been snubbed, like Till and She Said. These are not just films made by women. They're films that, or black women in the case of Till, but they're films that go into detail of a very, I don't want to say personal, but of a very specific experience that maybe relates mostly to women, and I think it shouldn't, but of these issues and these like themes that we need to talk about today. And I think everybody I talk to that, love women talking, absolutely, everybody's like, oh, I didn't just love it because it's beautiful or because it's very well written. It's also like this experience that maybe not to such an extent, but everybody has heard of. Yeah. And I think in not recognizing that, it's even worse in the sense that you're not recognizing the stories that this community is trying to tell you, whether it is women or black women or just people of color in general, which is really sad.
I agree. I perfectly agree. I think it is precisely what you just described, which is the idea of giving a voice to people that do not have a voice in society, and the implications of maybe giving too much freedom or too much freedom of expression to groups in society, right? Because the cinema is a powerful medium, and once you provide a channel for people to voice their concerns, voice their struggles, then you need to hear them. They're being heard.
I watched Fablemans and I really liked it, and as somebody who's, very into cinema and into the process of filmmaking, I really enjoyed it and I related to it to some level. But I think it's a film that the majority of the people who are not like film buffs are not gonna enjoy as much as something like Till, which to me was very impactful, even though
yes.
it's not my community, it's not, well, it's my history, but it's not the history of my community quite as much. And despite that, I do think Till is much more of an impactful film that everybody could, if not relate to, but at least empathize with.
Right, it's social injustice.
Yeah.
And even if you can't relate to that episode of social injustice, as a human being, you should be perfectly capable of empathizing and understanding and educating yourself on an episode of history which very sadly is not taught in school or very much discussed in media.
And it's also very relevant today. Like,
it really
Fablemans is a great film, but it leaves me with, beautiful, well done Steven Spielberg, because it's very autobiographical.
I mean, if you think about it, it's pretty relevant as well. If we want to think about Kanye West's recent Twitter chaos.
Yeah, that's true.
It's relevant as well. The thing to me, and it's interesting that you said that, Fablemans and Till, they're very different movies. Very different movies with two different sort of like premises, right? Mm-hmm. One is more personal. It's about Steven Spielberg's own experience.
Yeah.
And the other one, it's a movie that has been made to raise awareness and to focus on one particular episode of history that is, for many reasons, relevant today. And it's a very sad moment of history. And both of these movies, they do tackle similar issues, which is racial prejudice, social injustice. But to me, it's interesting how one gets to be somewhat more appreciated.
Yeah, and praised.
And the other one is considered more niche, and perhaps it's less, there's less marketing, less conversation.
Second level is that it always feels like, especially with the Best Director category, women have to do double the effort to be even nominated. Black women, triple.
I think Till is not amongst the best pictures because it doesn't have the feel good, or there can be a white hero or even black hero that could be some sort of like, there can be reconciliation at the end of the movie, but it's just a very tragic episode in history that wanted to be narrated as such, as a very tragic moment in history that we should just feel accountable for, because we all collectively should take that as our inheritance. As humanity, this is what we can be capable of. And this is what we are capable of even now.
Yeah.
And there's no happy ending. There's no. It's not even bittersweet. It's just bitter. Do you think this is why?
I think it played a part, but women talking somewhat. I wouldn't say it's a happy ending, but it's somewhat more positive. I think the problem for the kind of classical Hollywood narrative with Till is also that it's not a fake story, and women talking does come from something real, but it's somewhat less tied to our history, especially American history.
Like and the sort of like, if I watch it and I'm a white man, I can always think this can never happen.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, this is specific to like, 'cause women talking is I don't remember if the book is based on something real, but even if it was, it's on a like very specific context. Till is not. Till is like history. This happened and this happens every day. So it's very much disheartening, and I think calls out people in a less comfortable way for the audience. And I think that played a part into it. And I think it's the same to me for Best Director, because it's disheartening that almost every year you have to look at the male nominees. And especially when I know there's like, I can name at least 3 films out of the top of my head that could have been nominated. I think Sarah Polley should have been nominated for Women Talking.
Why on earth is Top Gun Maverick nominated for Best Picture?
And Avatar.
And film editing.
Editing, maybe I understand.
I don't care. It shouldn't even be at the Oscars.
Because I think usually it's not like they have a theme, but there's something, that they're doing with Best Picture. And this year they feel very like incohesive, and I think when it comes to making a choice to who the winner is going to be, it's weird that both of them are in it, because they feel like such different products for the Oscars, but also as movies. Like Triangle of Sadness was a con, Maverick was not a con. Like,
Triangle of Sadness
it's nominated, isn't it?
Yeah,
I would be so mad if
it
it
is
wasn't.
an incredible movie. You can like it, you
Fantastic.
can hate it, but it is a movie that has something to say. The thing with Avatar, to me, it's very different than any other franchise because I can't see the continuity of it. To me, it doesn't look like a franchise. It doesn't look like,
I mean,
there is a protagonist and there is ultimately at the end of like 3-movie series, there is an ultimate goal. For me, it's just let's do it because James Cameron has a lot of fun doing it.
As he should. But
yes.
Another surprise to me was Banshees of Inisherin, which I may be pronouncing wrong, because I know it got quite a lot of recognition at the BAFTAs, but it's a British film, and I don't think a lot of people were expecting it to do as well at the Oscars. I think it's one of the lead nominees in terms of numbers of nominations,
Could be, yes.
which is very good to see. And yeah, it's usually, you tend to think of the Oscars as seeing only American products, except for the best foreign film category. And it's just nice to see that Banshees was recognized because it's a very good film.
I think Austin Butler smashed it.
I agree.
In Elvis. I have nothing to say about him getting nominated as Best Actor because I don't know if he's gonna win. I have my own prediction.
Who do you think is gonna win?
I mean, Brendan Fraser is.
It's kind of like a fan favorite.
It has to win.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But Austin Butler did a pretty incredible job.
And
it wasn't just good; it was outstanding.
I agree, and I forget names.
Transformed into Elvis.
He did, and so much that it was hard for me to realize that at the end it was a documentary footage. I think that speaks a lot to his performance.
That's very true. Everything from the mannerism, even the voice, because he trained a lot vocally. And he's a pretty good singer.
Oh my god, yeah.
And even when he sings, it's not Elvis level of, technicality.
Well, I mean, but how could it be?
It's pretty good.
But I think the Best Actor category is going to be
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one because I think the kind of fan favorites are Austin Butler, Brendan Fraser, and
Paul Mescal for me, but this is
that's just you.
just me.
No, but see, After Sun getting recognized is another British good thing. But also Colin Farrell, because he won the Golden Globes.
Yeah.
So I think it's between those three. But also Paul Mescal, Big Knightley. Like, these are very good performances. I'd be happy with anybody.
I'm happy with the lead actor. I'm happy with the nominees.
Like, whoever wins, I think it's deserved.
Absolutely, I agree. But Elvis as Best Picture.
I really like Elvis though.
I really liked Elvis, but to me, it's not a Best Picture.
Not when there's films like Triangle of Sadness, Women Talking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not creatively. It's not just this. I'm gonna say block. This block. He made this new movie called Elvis, and it's incredible. It's chaotic. It looks like fireworks all the time coming at you.
Beautiful.
In every scene. But it is Buzz, cinematography.
Yeah.
It's something that he has been doing forever.
I know what you mean. It's not like revolutionary.
Do you know what? Exactly. It's incredible, but it's something a very established and accomplished director like Buzz has been doing for a very long time. It's not because it's...
And to me, that's the same with the Fablemans. Like,
yes.
It's not Spielberg's best film, in my opinion.
Oh,
it's a very good film. I really enjoyed it. But I cannot in good conscience put it at the same level as something like Triangle of Sadness, which is artistically and conceptually so good.
Do you know what I think? I think there's there's one thing Elvis and the Fablemans have in common. Those are two movies that the respective two directors made for themselves.
I want to say something about Best Supporting Actress.
Girl.
I'm extremely surprised. I mean, Angela Bassett, fantastic. Why did she have to be nominated for Black Panther? I love Wakanda Forever, fantastic. I love Ryan Coogler. He's a king. And why is Black Panther in the Oscar conversation? I don't want to be mean.
No,
I don't want to be
mean. It's not about being mean.
And she was really good to me. She was really good. It's so jarring to see Black Panther Wakanda Forever as an Oscar nominee. There's Best Documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And I like documentaries a lot, and sadly haven't watched enough this year, which I really need to do. But one that I watched that I think is very interesting is Stranger at the Gate, which is the one I told you about yesterday. And if there's any takeaway, I would like you to remember that Stranger at the Gate is available for free on YouTube, because the filmmaker kind of mission is that everybody, or the vast majority of people, sees this film, because it's very impactful, and especially for the US today, especially for Americans today. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's about patriotism and terrorism and Islamophobia. And interestingly, Malala is the executive producer because she believes in the message of the film, and about Islamophobia is being nominated at the Oscars, even though I think it does so in a way that allows for redemption. So it's possibly less uncomfortable than other films on the subject, but it also kind of calls into question the very structural things that are in place in the US, such as the military or the idea of patriotism, and they are called into question, and it's interesting, and I think good that the Oscars do not shy away from nominating that for the best international feature film, because it's always interesting. And to me it's very interesting that All Quiet on the Western Front is nominated, because All Quiet on the Western Front is also nominated as best feature, and the last time I remember this happening was with Parasite. So that's interesting. And second interesting thing is that I think everybody, me certainly, expected Decision to Leave to be nominated for South Korea.
Me too.
Right? Why is it not nominated? I'm very confused, and I think it was nominated for the Golden Globes, and
That's weird.
Right, and as it often is, South Korean movies are very interesting, but there's somewhat of a resistance to them from the American audience. Like when Parasite won, a lot of people were upset because they had to watch it with subtitles.
No.
Stupid. It's stupid.
When.
And I wonder if the resistance and the kind of cultural barriers that a lot of Americans talk about regarding South Korean cinema, which is absolutely incoherent, especially if you look at Parasite, which I think is universal.
It's a weird one.
I don't know if that may have played a part in it.
That would be extremely sad. I'm very happy with best animated movies.
That's the one I want to talk about, best animated films.
Very happy.
There's a lot.
Unhappy.
I mean, I think I know who I want to win.
Who do you want to win?
Pinocchio, 1000%.
Pinocchio's a guy. I don't think he's gonna win.
Do you know? Who do you think is gonna win?
For the same sort of like reason, which is disgust.
Yeah.
But I think it's more for people who are willing to watch that critique.
I know what you mean.
And not for children. It's not a
it's not for
that
children.
Can be enjoyed by
I genuinely
family
think
and children.
No,
you know?
I genuinely think it proved that animation is not just for kids.
Oh, it's never been.
No,
Animation
but this is
not for kids.
This is like the
Just
proof
for
of
kids.
it to me. And I mean, I think regardless of who wins, like Turning Red, Puss in Boots, like, they're all good films, and they have all like very interesting messages. Turning Red is about like generational trauma and living in an immigrant family. Puss in Boots addresses anxiety and mental health, and these are all very interesting. But to me, as somebody who doesn't understand maybe as much about animation, Pinocchio just stands out because it's so well done. You can tell they're using stop motion technique, and it's just so beautiful to look at, and not just as a plot.
The soundtrack is incredible.
I know.
Pinocchio soundtrack is absolutely
It's
outstanding.
really good.
You don't see this movie winning as best.
I wish it
animated
would
picture.
though. It's my winner in my heart.
Puss in the Boots will win.
Do you think?
Or Turning
I feel
Red,
like Turning
because
Red.
It received a lot of media coverage.
Yeah, and it would be good because I think it's the
Even
first.
social media.
Yeah, I think if it wins, I may be wrong. Feel free to correct me, but I think it would be the first major Disney film made by an Asian person to ever win.
I think you might be right. No, we don't think we are always right. We're happy to be wrong, and we're happy to learn more.
And this is what film is as well. So subscribe, comment down below your predictions, and stay tuned for next week, Monday at 6.